Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a monster analysis on Grumpex. Grumpex is the head of the Zamillions, a civilization of space warriors. Until the Zamillions arrived, the Skill army ruled the area, but ever since Grumpex and his warriors have been around, Master Skill and his troops have nothing to do against them. And so Grumpex is the newest and latest light legendary monster, and a quite good one at that. So let's just start off by looking at his stats. His power is 3619, making him officially the strongest light monster. Previously was Patreon with a power of 3553, so definitely stronger, right? And as for his life stat, he even has 38,906, which is the third highest life stat in the third category. It's third only to War Master Elvira and Scotty Vera. So not only can he pack a huge punch, he's also quite difficult to defeat because of that huge life stat. And then his speed is also pretty good, 3,465. This is the sixth highest speed stat in the light category, and it's tied with monsters like Demise and Bright. So overall, really great stats. And then what makes him even more vicious is his trait. Not only does he have the conventional hardened trait, which a lot of monsters have, 20% chance to not get hit with negative effects, he also comes with a built-in mechanical hater. So anytime this monster faces a mechanical monster, that mechanical monster is pretty much going down because you have an immediate triple damage. And let's see what kind of mechanical monsters exist in the game of Monster Legends. And we'll focus on the more popular ones. We have the War Master Remtar, he's a mechanical monster. We have Patient Cyber, the Baroness, both team race monsters, so a lot of people have them ranked up. Going on to page 9, we have Talos, we have Scrap Warrior, we have Holter's Bodyguard. All these are very popular monsters. Scrap Warrior being a team race monster, Holter's Bodyguard being available in the team shop. Lots of players have that one ranked up to level 130. We have Ingenica, Flammarion. Flammarion was available in a team race where people could get this monster up to rank 5. There's Tankirion, a really tanky monster. And so having this built-in mechanical hater, you are definitely a force to be reckoned with against mechanical monsters. Look, there's even Hackster, there's Timeron. So definitely a valuable monster against the mechanical book. And let's keep going. This monster can hold the Sword Relic and the Mask Relic. And with the relics, it just really depends on what you have. The Sword Relic tends to be the attacker type relic, especially if you have something like the Jakugan Sword. After hitting, if target's life is below 50%, it deals X amount of damage depending on the level, physical damage. Or looking at Nishin Sword or Solaris' Sword. Again, these are more of damage dealing relics. You also have access to some stamina drain and some shield. It all depends on what you have. And the same goes for the mask. The mask, you have a variety to choose from. You have some stamina regeneration relics, you have some life regeneration relics, you have some relics that can drain the enemy stamina. This one increases your strength at the start of the battle. So it all depends on what you have. Talonay's mask gives armor to all of your allies. So you have really great variety. But the mask and sword, we typically see these on attackers, and as the wiki says, he is an attacker monster. So with that being said, let's talk about his ultimate. Space Exploration Team Alpha deals very heavy light damage to our enemies, applies stamina leak, poison, and sunburn to our enemies. So poison will drain 10% of the enemy's HP for 4 turns, sunburn will drain 15%, so that's 25% each turn for the next 3 turns, and then an extra 10 on the 4th turn with poison. Poison also reduces damage output by 20%, and then sunburn reduces accuracy by 15%, and then stamina leak is taken away 15% for 3 turns. So the torture effects on this monster is great, not to mention this is 60 damage from a monster with this insanely high power. So, and if you're fighting a mechanical monster, you get this on the first turn, that mechanical monster is destroyed. So great ultimate on this monster. Moving on over to skills group 1, I do want to mention them, just because these two skills, 1000 Miles and Descendant and Blizzardman, they have 0 turn cooldown. And the reason this I find to be significant is because, once again, against a monster that is in the mechanical book, you have triple damage. So this 100 Miles is 90 light base damage. This Descendant and Lizardman is 90 light base damage. Why is that significant? Well, because in the mechanical book, there's monsters like Patient Cyber that have AoE cooldowns activated. Timeron, AoE cooldowns activated. Even the Baroness has a cooldown activated skill. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're facing those monsters that you know can do cooldowns activated, and you know they're in the mechanical book, even if you're slower, even if your Grumpex goes after them and your whole team got hit with cooldowns activated, you can still pack 90 damage against those monsters, which is awesome. This one could even has a 50% chance to sunburn if you're not fighting Timeron, the artifact monster. This one even has a 50% chance to poison. Personally, I think 1000 Miles would be significantly better because you want that sunburn. But regardless, both great skills with a 0 cooldown, and considering you can swap skills for free now, you can always choose skills that are going to benefit you the most in the battle. Educator Blaster Bolt, this one in my opinion isn't worth mentioning. 1 turn cooldown, 50% chance to daze, not a fan of that. So yeah, just keep these two in mind whenever you face a mechanical cooldown activated monster. With that being said, let's go on to skills group 2, Brighter Than the Sun. Moderate light damage applies sunburn and poison to one enemy. Even though it's not that strong, that sunburn and poison does kind of make up for it, but I won't be recommending this skill. Wait for Zamillion. Deals moderate special damage to one enemy, applies skill mirror to itself, requires cooldown. 40 special base damage, 25 stamina, and a 1 turn cooldown with a skill mirror that also lasts for 1 turn. I actually really like this skill. If, depending on what enemy you're facing, if they hit you, and the fact that you just reflect the skill, you're not reflecting the damage. This is different than 100% damage reflection. You're reflecting the entire skill. Given that this monster is an attacker, given that this monster is going to have strength runes, even if the monster is a deny monster that does a deny skill, you reflect that deny skill, but you pack your punch. It's reflected with your power and with your strength runes and all that. So that's great. Not to mention, depending on who you're facing, it could really come in handy. For example, if you face someone that does cooldowns activated, well, you reflect the cooldowns activated. If you face a monster that does an extra turn skill, like let's say Voltic does static shocks against you, you do static shocks against Voltic, which means you get the extra turn. So skill mirror is very powerful. Not to mention, this also has a lot of synergy with self extra turn skills or turn transfer skills. For example, if one of your allies has a turn transfer skill and you have skill mirror on yourself, well, not only does your Grumpex get an extra turn, you're going to reflect that extra turn skill back to your ally, so both of you gets an extra turn. Or if you yourself has an extra turn skill, you're going to get 2 extra turns. And I mentioned that because he does have an extra turn skill in skills group 3. Stepping through the door removes all negative status effects from itself, applies precision 2 and 1 extra turn to itself. So it's a self-precision extra turn skill. So if you happen to be able to set up a combo where you can do wait for Zamillion first, and on the next turn do stepping through the door, you gave yourself 2 extra turns and you have increased accuracy. And so that's obviously really nice. One of the best ways to do it, I suppose, would be if you have a treachery monster that's a support monster that can turn transfer into you. So, and your turn is coming up next. So for example, let's say you have Cloud, and then with your Grumpex, and Cloud can go either before or after. Let's say with Cloud you do charge with me, you give him an extra turn, so now Grumpex can do wait for Zamillion and stepping through the door. Although again, alternatively, if Grumpex is going first, you can just do wait for Zamillion, and then when Cloud does his extra turn skill, it would give Grumpex an extra turn, and then you would return it to Cloud. Cloud would get an extra turn. So there's a lot of ways to maneuver around that. So wait for Zamillion, pretty powerful skill, and even his brother Zamillion has a turn transfer skill, which is why that synergy works with this skill and then the turn transfer skill from his brother. So that's pretty cool. So this one, it's definitely high on my recommendation list. But again, considering we can change skills for free now, you can choose whether or not to run the skill, whether you think is going to benefit you in the battle. Moving on, we have Lizard of Science, Not War. Deals moderate special damage to all enemies, applies a random torture to all enemies, and here is the list of all the tortures. We have Burning, Nightmares, Quicksand, Ignition, Drown, Poison, Bleeding, Sunburn, Shock, Nanovirus, and everyone's favorite, Curse. Curse is so deadly. On the first turn, it'll take away 10%, on the second turn, it'll take away 20%, and on the third turn, it takes away 40%, and this is both HP and stamina for a grand total of 70. So you can pretty much just stall, and the enemy will die. And thanks to this skill I already talked about, stepping through the door, you give yourself increased accuracy. So there's a high likelihood the torture effects are going to land, and you definitely won't be missing the damage. So it's definitely a great skill, and let's move on. Double Laser Blast. This skill is interesting. So it says first shot deals moderate light damage and applies sunburn. Second shot deals moderate light damage and applies poison. So I'm assuming, you know how we have skills that are like double possession, double stun, where you have 2 chances to land the stun? I'm assuming this is the same thing. You're essentially dealing 30 damage shots. So maybe the first one misses, maybe the second one misses, maybe neither of them misses. So you might be dealing 30 damage or 60 damage. And if the first one lands, you may apply a sunburn. And if the second one lands, you may apply the poison. That's how I interpret it. It costs 40 stamina, 3 turn cooldown. Sunburn and poison is quite powerful, I would say. After dealing 60 damage, that's enough to kill the monster once they get a turn in. So I like this skill a lot. I do want to see it in action though. Stepping through the door we talked about. Great skill. This is like must-have skill, obviously. You're pretty much always going to land your attacks, because no matter what negative effect you had, whether it was a total blind, whether it was a regular blind, and a daze, a sunburn, that's removed. You give yourself increased accuracy and an immediate extra turn to be able to do whatever you want. Sophisticated Race is the last skill we have. Deals very heavy light damage to one enemy, applies 2 random torture effects to one enemy. I also really like this skill because sometimes you're not going after like the AoE, you're not trying to deal something to everyone. Sometimes there's one main threat you want to take down, and maybe double laser blast, you don't want to gamble with the first shot, second shot, and maybe you don't like sunburn poison, maybe you wanted to gamble with a clear 50% shot and then trying to land. Well, you have 2 chances to land random effects, so maybe you're trying to land something better than a sunburn and a poison. Although, seriously, the sunburn is good enough, in my opinion. So I like this skill a lot too. And again, thanks to your increased precision, you most likely won't be missing. So overall, I really like all of skills group 3. I like Wait for a Million, Lizard of Science Not War, and then again, skills group 1, it really depends on the circumstances who you're facing. As for like a skill set, part of me feels like I don't even need to recommend anything just because you can swap at your leisure. But I would say the must-have skill is, of course, the extra turn skill, stepping through the door. Also, I think you can kind of maybe do without Wait for a Million unless you have the right support partner. So that's going to vary on War to War. I think definitely bring the AoE skill with you, especially, yeah, this could definitely come in handy. Bring your strong 60 damage skill and even bring the 50 damage skill. So skills group 3 and Lizard of Science Not War. And then you can swap in Wait for a Million depending on the situation. I think most often you're probably going to swap out Sophisticated Race just because it does deal 10 less damage and you're probably better off going with Double Laser Blast and the other skills. So yeah guys, that is going to be my recommendation for Grumpex. Overall, he is quite a powerful light legendary attacker. More so, he's a powerful mechanical killer. So that's my thoughts on Grumpex. Now let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching this video and I will see you all next time.